my fellow colleagues that are online, I believe you can hear me. You can unmute yourself to answer. Okay, things should be clear and I will be able to hear you. This morning we had a little bit of a technical glitch due to the fact that I could not hear you. Zim, can you? Okay. You could hear me, but I could not hear you. All right. So just let me configure this a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use red. Red will be good. All right. So what we're going to do today, we are going to start on our series. This is the second time we are offering this series. The first group of individuals who have gone through our series already graduated. So the thing is, we started with belasan, but only 4 graduated, 4 managed to complete. Some of them still missing 1 or 2. So what we do is we allow you all to pick up. There are 4 kan. So let's say you got 1, 2, 3, 4, you got something emergency, don't worry, you can actually pick it up in the future date. Every year, OBE, I bagi 3 kali, 3 times. As you know, we have transformative learning. I have to do some marketing now. We got transformative learning series 1 and 2. We also have OBE and research. So this is the way that we are going towards. Alright, so for today's session, what we are going to do is we're going to look at OBE session 1, the principles of outcomes-based education OBE. Now, I think the first thing that we need to answer is if you look at the word outcome or outcomes-based, this is very much in regards to the literature that you read. It is hyphenated. So it's actually, because when you hyphen 2 words, it becomes 1 word, right? So it's actually OE, but OE doesn't sound nice. So they make it OBE plus. Alright, so in literature, when you read, it's actually outcomes-based. Now, the way that it is being practiced, because of its familiarity and its widely used in nature, some institutions or some literature calls it outcomes, no hyphen, based education. Generally, there's no right or there's no wrong towards it. I have seen MQA document that calls it outcomes-based education. Dia tak ada hyphen. Okay, but in the real aspect, there should be outcomes-based as 1 word. When you join these 2 words, it becomes a unique word, a unique action. It's outcomes-based education. Okay, so that is where OBE is. Okay, of course, it's a very big hello. I'm very happy that all of you are here. Generally, on paper, I suppose that last time, orang register here not too bad. Online, actually, quite a few. Our Penang colleagues, quite a lot of Penang colleagues. So, hello Penang colleagues, nice to see you all. Yes, there are quite a few of them, but I don't think they can see. My students like to sit at belakang. Like my normal class, yang baik dia duduk depan, yang jahat dia duduk belakang. So, all of mine duduk belakang. Okay. Now, so I'm glad that you are all here. The reason why this is important is because from 2006-2007 over in Malaysia, MQA and our ministry emphasized much more on the practices of outcomes-based. Now, the reason why this is so critical is because of the changing market that we are experiencing at the moment. Not only do we want students who are competent in their own work, but we want students to meet the demands of the industry, the outcomes itself. Outcomes is basically the ability of the student to demonstrate that they have achieved a particular level. That is what is outcomes-based. Outcomes-based, one key aspect that we need to start today is this thing called evidencing, having evidence. That means in outcomes-based education, no way can you take just the verbal description or verbal explanation of a particular student. Sir, I can do. For example, if you are taking a culinary student, and this student, what we are teaching is baking. So in outcomes-based education, not only will the students say they can, but they need to demonstrate competency. The demonstration of the competency is critical in outcomes-based education. There must be a certain level of demonstration. Because demonstration is so important, we need to demonstrate that key aspect itself. So when we look into outcomes-based, what is being demonstrated needs to be what is required by the industry, what is keperluan. And this will then structure, working back, the design of the curriculum and eventually the design of the PLO and PEO and so on. So in today's journey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the whole process of what OBE is. why we do OBE, and at the end of the day, we are going to look into the processes or the key journey of how do we actually decide OBE itself. And then you will find that actually OBE is not something very daunting. No, it is our practice that we have done in many ways. However, this time we need to have clear evidence that this is being achieved. Okay, so a student that achieves 3.8 or 4.0 CGPA, that is a demonstration, all right, summative assessment to say that this student is very good. So in outcomes-based education, not only does a 3.8 or 4.0 means grades, but this person can demonstrate in what is required to be done. So if we have a 4.0 student in culinary, I use culinary example, and he goes out to the industry, but can't even make a basic sauce, something is wrong in our assessment method, something is wrong in our delivery method, and also our syllabus. Understand? Something must be wrong. Yeah.
The evidence that you say now should be documented.
Yes, all needs to be documented. There must be documented evidence of proof that students have achieved that particular goal. So if students tell you, ma'am, I tahu what? Betul lah tahu. Bukti. What is the bukti? Now, our examination that we do, our final exam, is a bukti of students' achievement. Okay, so that is an example of bukti. We set the paper based on expectation, and that is the bukti. So when we look into OBE as we go along the journey, when I go through, you are going to see that there are a lot of critical aspects in regards to evidencing and how important that is. All right, so it's going to be a fun, at least 3.5 hour journey. Okay, so as you understand, there are a few key parts over here that we cover. So we have the principles of outcomes-based education, that is today. Then so this is what we're covering today. Now, the next session is going to be my session also next week. So we are going to do this. Then it will come Michelle, workshop on learning outcomes, and finally CE. So what we do over here is it's not only done by one individual. No, we have individual skills from different aspects. People, CE, good in the formative assessment component. Michelle will look into the LOs. Okay, there is a slight movement on the schedule due to the fact that those are times that the trainers are quite free. Okay, so I need to do acknowledgement. It's very important. Not everything is all based on what I have over here. No, I need to acknowledge the books and websites. I read a lot of literature on this manner. The more you read, the more you question. Let me tell you that. Okay, the more you read, the more you question. All right. Later, you're going to hear this person called William Spady. William Spady is the father of OBE. All right. His theory, his concept ideas are good, but sometimes good doesn't mean practical in our environment. So that is why when you look at it, what we do is a very practical UOW Malaysia KDU aspect. Okay. And then we have this gentleman over here, Tuan Haji Muhammad Nasri. How many know him? Brilliant fellow, nice chap. Alright, okay. He did papers 3 times. Alright, you all tahu kan? So we actually got him here. I learned a lot from him. I sat down and I asked him. He's the one that told me, there's no such thing as contact hours is fixed. You all can justify. If the officer come and tell you that contact hours plus 3 credits means how many hours, you tell him there's no such thing. Padahal, you know our problem over here. Our problem is literature, what is being taught versus practice. The officers come and do assessment. It's different. Officers come and very traditionalists. So they look, hey, you are 3 credits. I need to see your 40 hours of contact. Padahal, there is no need for that. So sometimes when we want to justify, we also takut to get approval kan. So we okay lah, mari kita ikut. So when you ikut, you tukar, it becomes your COPA document and it goes on. Padahal that is not your plan, your plan is not like that. He is the seafood that told me, no such thing. You need to justify to them, you tell them, and this is further justified in 2019, end of 2019, I was in Penang, where School of Computing had one of the, another seafood to come in to talk about OBE. He also justified, said, if you want to give 3 credits, 25 hours of contact per semester, no problem, just justify it. You see, so a lot of these people. Now, websites, definitely like when you do research, sometimes I go to websites, I read here and there and so on. Now, sometimes this one this is where the headache comes in. The more you read, people got different perspectives and ideas. And what I found is this. One key thing about OBE implementation is this thing called resources. Resources. How much resources do we have? How many hours is Aswa teaching? If she's teaching 23 hours a week, then you ask her to follow OBE, follow up with the student at the end of the day to make sure they achieve. Susah. Because in OBE, one key principle of OBE later you will understand is this. Every student can succeed on their own pace, on their own time. I have 3 students over here. This one, let's say, very good student, ajar satu kali achieve. OBE, outcome-based sudah achieve. This student very good, but her learning style is different. She may take a longer time with more guidance, but she will achieve. That is OBE. OBE is the final achievement outcomes based, but the process will differ to all of you. So one thing that I have read and I have understood is, betul, tapi what are the limitation of resources we have? If this lady is teaching 23 hours a week and one student requires a lot of guidance, how much time do we actually give for this achievement of outcomes itself? Do we draw a line to say that this is the minimum requirements, or do we ensure that all students must achieve A? Betul tak? Are you all here to ensure all students achieve A? No, there's a different A excellence initiative put in. We are here to ensure students achieve the requirement of the syllabus, of the course, of the program. That is required. That is your role. Anything more than that, students' initiative. Very good. And of course, my fellow colleagues, all of you. When I speak to colleagues, I hear from them and this and that. So it's very important. We learn from our colleagues. And OBE is alive. OBE is a constantly changing process. So when we learn from our colleagues, we then implement it in the correct manner. So in our discussion topic, we are going to look at what is OBE. Okay, we are going to look at it. Why is it important? And of course, a very important thing over there. As I stressed, the theory memang cantik, a lot of this theory memang syok, but we need to look at UOW Malaysia KDU thing. How do we apply it? How do we use it? We use it, UITM use it, tailors use it, lain. We all practice OBE, but they practice it in a different manner. Okay, tailors, I give you one example. I like tailors. You recorded it. Alright, no, I find tailors is very proactive. It's not better. Tailors is very proactive. In their syllabus, in their course, they allow what you call flexible electives. Flexible electives is in certain of their courses, most of their courses, the student can pick electives from different disciplines. Now, why? Why do you think they do this for fun? No, a lot of work, you need to coordinate because the industry say that they want graduates that are flexible and adaptable to changing environments. How many of us or our students actually work in the same field discipline as they are doing? And how many of us that actually study a particular degree and whatever we learn inside, when we go and work, everything is exactly the same? No, hospitality person like me, I'm a hospitality trained person. I'm doing trading, I'm doing IT, I'm doing many other things. It evolves, our role evolves. So when you look at OBE outcomes based, tailors in their mind already tahu, that is the way to go, Students cannot be limited to discipline only. It is their interest. And many of them, their interest becomes their career. So they allow students to venture into this. Itu OBE. Outcomes based, because this is what the industry wants. They want the industry wants hotel graduates that can do programming. They want IT graduates that also can do that as econs and business sense. This is what they want. So this is what tailors is doing. Now, they is their thing. What about us? We know it's good. Why are we not applying it? Why are we not doing it? Why are we not telling our student, your major or your core subject is degree 120 credit, right? The one is important is 80%, 75 to 80% need to be your core. So we have a flexibility of lebih kurang 20 credit to 22 credit flexible. So student 20 kredit. 20 kredit persamaan, let's say 3 kali 7 lah. 3 kali 7. 3 is credit value, 7 courses. Student free into 7 courses. Do you know what is the logistics nightmare of allowing students to do cross? So, baik ke tak baik? Baik ke tak baik ini? Allow students to take their own electives. It doesn't impact their discipline. Discipline no impact. Discipline memang no impact. I am not engineering student, I graduate engineering. But I'm allowed to do 20 credits every. Now, this is just a plucked up number. I'm not saying 20. Good or not? Good. But why are you not doing it? Logistic issue. Logistic. That means, let's say a lot of students like to do pastry. Then you already fix the only time that all the students are free is Friday 6 to 10. Betul lah? Betul. Now, if kita pastry lecturer ada kebelasan, tak kisahlah. Pastry lecturer 2 ekor. Dah lah full. You see the challenge? That is why I put a KDU thing. My ideas on this, in the numerous years, I have many ideas. Ideas saja, implement susah. Why? Not enough manpower, not enough this and that. But we understand. So I'm not saying we are doing the wrong thing, but what I'm saying is we need to work with our resources. We need to make sure at the end of our day, we do the best that we can for our students to achieve their outcomes. What is their outcome? Itu yang penting. We do in our best and our within our resources. Alright? So, first thing lah, when we talk about OBE, we have this guy, William Spady. William Spady, also known as father of OBE. Bill Spady, short form. Now, basically, OBE is founded on 3 basic premises. 3 basic premises. I like the first premise. All students can learn and succeed. All students can learn and succeed, but not at the same day in the same way. Different days, different way. Alright? Even those that are a bit slower, even those that are in a way stimulated by different senses. Some of us are visual people. Some of us, when you go to class, how many of you, when you are doing your undergraduate or your master's, you take notes in your yeah, take notes. You know why? You guys are visual. Okay? I don't need, I copy notes. My own notes I cannot read. Okay? Oral, I listen, I paham. Then later I read, because we are all different. So, according to William Spady, number 1, this is number 1. Number 2, success breeds success. Student achieve goal, you motivate them, well done, happy, then I want to go and do more. That is why formative feedback is critical. Formative assessment and feedback is critical in OBE. Now, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, can anybody explain to me the difference between formative and summative assessment and feedback? Apa beza dia formative and summative? Anybody?
Formative is like what we did, like internet and whatnot. Everything is like structured.
Quite a good answer, not totally accurate, quite a good answer. What do you think? Anybody else?
In my opinion, summative will be like they would grading you. But formative can be like during the class, you ask somebody something that is not yet the form of formative. So you want to test their understanding.
Formative, summative. Summative is anything that will impact the final grade of the student. Anything. It can be assignment, assessment, or whatever your other final grade to the student. Okay, let's say you are teaching, Aizah is teaching marketing. So the quiz 20%, yang ada impact to final grade. Midterm 20%, yang ada impact to final grade. Assignment 40% impact final grade. Final exam 20% impact final grade. Itu semua summative. Formative is anything that we do to encourage and to gauge students' understanding. Understand? When I say understand, itu formative dan summative. Betul, formative. That is formative lah. I'm doing formative assessment. Formative is to form students' thought and idea to ensure that they are on the right channel towards achieving good summative results. That is formative assessment. Now, that is basic academic literature. These terms are used interchangeably or in many different forms if you read our local literature. In our local literature, sometimes they use formative as continuous assessment and summative as final exam. But in the general academic literature, formative assessment and formative feedback is used to encourage the students. Okay, so according to Williams study, success breeds success. This is for formative and summative assessment. My handwriting is like that, I try to take notes. Okay, so when you do formative assessment according to Williams study, I do formative assessment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're my students, you understand? Yes, well done. So confident that I paham. So you feel that you're success. When you feel you are success, it breeds success. Then you are interested to go to the next class. You want to go to the next. You want to learn more. You want to learn more. That is what it means. It is not only the summative side, but also the formative side. Kahoot, Quizzy, Kahoot and Quizzy, those are the quiz that we do in class. Why is it good? It creates the sense of achievement in the student. Yes, I got 8 out of 10. I didn't know that. I'm happy. Whoa, Mr. Mahathir's class is tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Itu success breeds success. Very important. In learning and absorption, the mind is 80% of the battle. If students are positive, this is what it is. So I totally agree. And number 3, schools control the conditions of success. Now, the word school here means institution. We control. We must give a conducive environment. This is called conducive environment. Tak panas. Ada meja, ada kursi, ada light, aircon. Lecturers are enthusiastic. Syllabus is good. Facilities. This is called the control the conditions to success. Okay, all right. So that's important. We play a key role. That means we as cikgu, 老师, teachers, all of us, our role that we play in the student success is critical. Okay, the way we motivate them, the way that the students will come and see you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. It was a brilliant experience. Why? Because we create the condition. Have you noticed in our learning, do students like every subject, every class, every lecturer? No. But facility sama mah. Facility sama mah. Why? It is the lecturer plays an important role. So the school, if all else are the same, the person is a critical aspect over there. So according to Williams Perry, OBE, not only cikgu, the motivation and the institution is very important. Space education it's not what we want to teach, but what the student should learn. What the student should learn. Later, you will find that in outcomes-based education and in the structure of our documentation and process, PEO, nanti I'm going to PEO is the most critical. Tahu PEO? Pernah dengar? If I do it in this side, I do it here, it becomes a. Alright, anyway, PEO is critical. Later you will see, and that is what students should learn. What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing? We are educators. We are educating students, and the goal of this education is for students to attain a qualification. Only that paper? No. We are preparing them to be good citizens. Good citizens that have the knowledge in their discipline. Hospitality discipline, computing discipline, engineering discipline. They have not only the discipline knowledge, but they also have aspects such as ethical, leadership, entrepreneurship, interrelations, communication skills, numerical skills, digital skills, cognitive skills, knowledge, and psychomotor skills. Pernah dengar semua ni? Apa tu? 5 clusters. Those are the MQF version 2 5 clusters. So our government, memang baik. They already know apa keperluan our student. Okay, the 5 clusters. That is why later you see PLO semua 5 clusters that kita ikut. 5 clusters become the 11 sub-clusters. Alright, so that is what students should learn. That is what students should learn. So when you look into OBE, in Malaysia, we are blessed. Our documentation is actually quite good. Government documentation, MQF, Malaysia's qualifications framework, sekarang version 2, it's actually good. Structured, right? We have good thinkers. People who apply to lain cerita. Okay, the people who come and check to lain cerita. But the thought thinkers memang baik. Structured. So they already know what the students should learn. So when you look at OBE, what is important is what the students should learn is what is required for the students to be good citizens. Okay, so now I want to ask all of you now. Are we doing that? If you look into the 5 clusters, our PLO, all your program are PLO. PLO memang ada 1 sampai traditional 8. Now I encourage 1 sampai 11 lah. 1 sampai 11. Okay, under ethics, what do you do? Ethics is one critical thing, you know, under the classes. What do you do? How do you make sure students belajar ethics?
In my class, for example, students want to plagiarize. So plagiarism is an issue in creative studies in India. So we have to learn how not to plagiarize.
Learn how to not plagiarize. Ethical studies is not to learn not to plagiarize only, but why is it wrong to plagiarize? We have to go back to the cause. Okay? Now, good. That's a good point. Other than that, kebanyakan people I ask not quiet. Then I ask them, why are you don't do? Yet, susah mau access. What do we concentrate on? We concentrate on cognitive skill, knowledge, and psychomotor, practical skill. Why? Easy to access. Leadership skill pun susah nak access. Leadership skill susah nak access. But that is what students should learn. That is what students should learn. And all of these already come from the MQF version 2. Government already said must. So my question to you, are we shortchanging our students?
Sometimes you may be not realizing but actually.
That is why remember the starting I say bukti. Now you know where the bukti comes in lah. Good point, Aiza over there. Sometimes we don't realize that we do. Sekarang you realize the importance. So when you structure your scheme of work and your lesson plan, you want to make sure that you are guided. This will be the activity. I'm going to do this and this. This will encourage ethical behavior or educate students in ethical behavior. You need to membuktikan. And when you membuktikan, you formalize. Now, does this mean that ethics need to give grade, markup? No. MQF, PLO, not everything need markup one, you know. Is make sure they achieve. I give you one example. A-levels. A-levels is exam-based. Syllabus datang dari Cambridge. We mengajar students exam not reset. But under program learning outcome for A-levels, they also must cover the PLOs. So how do the teachers do? There is no marks for ethics in A-level. In the exam, you don't but the teacher or the lecturer or the facilitator officially encourages or educates the students on these concepts. Because when the student finish A-level, they masuk university, big university, well known, okay, Oxbridge, they still need to know what they should learn. Those are the key things, ethics, leadership, and so on. So those things are covered. Okay? Later, I show you the cara-cara membuat that. Alright? Historical developments of outcomes-based education, historical developments of sejarah sikit. Traditionally, if you're looking into pre-industrial revolution, it was very much mastery. you buat satu saja. If you are iron smith, you are an iron smith. You do one thing only. Alright, so that is called mastery. Then we look into competency defined by industry. Alright, you work in that particular field. Then now what we see is outcomes. This is agreed by stakeholders. Stakeholders is the changing environment. What is that person really needed for the industry? Last time, when you work as let's say a bricklayer, for the rest of your life you can be a bricklayer. A bricklayer is a person who builds walls and bricks. You can do that because that is how the industry was. Today, you cannot guarantee that all your graduates in hospitality, for example, will join the hospitality industry. Definitely not. And actually, the statistics are actually quite shocking. What was it like? Like 50% joining, and after the first year drops down to nearly 20 or something like that. The last time I was reading, yes, it was that low. It drops down. Okay? It really drops down. And what else do they do? Where do these people go to? Okay, so are we preparing them for that? Because if that is the reality that is happening, we need to make sure they have skills to adapt to these changes. Okay? Fun? Alright? So OBE is getting fun. Right. So OBE versus traditional education. Traditional is called content-based. Content-based. Okay, here content-based, passive. Passive is one way lah. Student dengar, accept, you are omnipotent, you are one and the almighty, alpha and omega. Which is traditional lah. Last time I remember when I started teaching in 1998, I used to go to my class. Students, God. I think you all some are teachers like that, right? Right? You listen to me. Last time we had this traditional thought. Sifu, you know Sifu? Sifu means the one that got all the knowledge. You just go there, you absorb. Dulu boleh lah. 25 years ago when I started teaching, that was the ending part already. Boleh. Student will listen to you, what you know. Today, no more active learners. Cannot like that. What does the industry want? Industry want people who are creative. The industry want people who are willing to answer to question. So we cannot have passive individuals go to the company and just quiet. We need outgoing. Now, some of you may say, hey, but that is not our responsibility. Company want company train. Company has no more patience today. You go, you cannot do, you are out. Patience, you know, dulu, with your degree, they are patient, they train you up. Now, a lot of industries and companies want you to adapt straight away. So that's one difference. Now, content-based assessment process, exam grade driven. Is exam grade driven. Yesterday's news, ada dengar Minister of Higher Education apa dia telah membubarkan? I hope I'm using the right word. Membubar is to get rid of, right? What? PT3. Betul. PT3 kasih buang. Government semalam bercakap lah. So today all the teachers got to kepala. You know, right? Wow, this is a big decision, you know. Why? Because they want different kind of learners. They want different kind of students. They want not exam related. They want continuous assessment. That is what they say lah. Okay? They want, which is true. They are starting from young. PT3 from 3. They are starting from there already. They want thinkers, not followers. And if we are in an environment that has always had followers, and when they come to tertiary education and we are going to change them into thinkers, dalam 3 tahun, it's not possible. Because from young, they have really been molded in such a way to receive, only receive. They have been passive.
Challenge from first.
Challenge from first. So now, actually, what the government is doing, memang betul, they are changing the ball game. They are putting group work, assignment, assessment. Put the importance up a little bit. So we hope now that maybe it will then flow through to our higher education ministry, who will now not only come and emphasize everything on final exam. You know, because final exam is the easiest thing for them to say. So this is the change. Okay? And I just want to explain the third one. Rote learning to now critical thinking. Why? Rote learning is memory. regurgitate, memorization. So now we are looking at critical thinking, reasoning, reflection. Outcomes based, what is required in the future? People that can think. That's why we need to do this. Why? Then you may ask me, hey, how come last time is like that? Because last time in the 60s and 70s, they need people to work in factories, to work in areas that are not information tech sectors. You just need to work, you need to know how to screw. It's production. You need these people. Production, you need this. But now the industry is normal. We need thinkers. We need people who can think out of the box. So when you need to think out of the box, you need to change this to the outcomes. Okay? Alright? So that is where we come in now. We are the intermediary from 17 years old to 22, and we are supposed to structure in the mind of the student so that when they go out to the industry will take them in. That is our role. It's not easy. Definitely it's not easy. If at the initial stage it is already not done properly. But now the government is structuring it to make it better. Let's hope that there is no new education minister that come in, Even the issue of using English, the usage of English in class, it shouldn't be politicized as a cultural racial thing. It is OBE. I will even emphasize on the usage of maybe Mandarin, OBE. Why? A lot of our students, when they graduate, Malaysia may not have the market right now. So, a lot of our students graduate need to go overseas. Outcomes based is we are preparing them for the future. So if I'm preparing my student for the future in 5 years' time, what is important for me? Communication skill. If I know they're not going to work in my country, let's be realistic, they may work somewhere else, we need to give them the skill, the ability to communicate. You see, so English, the usage of English is basically outcomes based. How can you be competitive if not having that? And English is just an example. It could be Mandarin, it could be Arabic, it could be French, anything, depending on the market. In late 1990s, early 2000, opening of China, remember? China started opening big business, people going there to work, people going there to invest. What was the main language everybody was talking? Mandarin. France, US, America, all the executives were learning Mandarin. Outcomes based. Why? They got no choice. Have to go to that market. You don't speak their language, you cannot people, Chinaman. Okay? So you cannot. So you need to learn. Why are they doing it? Do they like to learn the language? No choice. Outcomes based. What is the outcome? I need to invest in that company, in that country. I need to grow. I need to learn. I need to have the skill. So see? So paradigm shift in education. So this is what we see, a paradigm shift from teacher-centered to now student-centered. STL, student-centered learning, emphasis on the student. What is the keperluan of the student in the future? And at the end of the day, how do we ensure that the students have the required skill to be competitive? Okay. Some of you are parents, and I really respect you guys. You guys are the most important OBE people. Correct, right? So let's picture this for example. Any of you are parents? No, no. But how about elders? 9. Okay, 9. When will your son or daughter? Son or daughter? 9 also. Okay, 9 years old. Son, okay. Your son, in a normal sequence, bila dia akan start work? 13 years. Fair, very fair. 13 years. Lucky she never say 3 years time. 13 years. Now, guys, under OBE concept, outcomes based. So your son, what will your son require to have a good job? I say good doesn't mean high paying. Good job. What will he require? What will he require? What skills? What? Communication,
thinking skills,
communication, thinking,
technologies,
Aiza, are you thinking of today's student or you're thinking 13 years down the road? You're thinking today. 13 years down the road, maybe communication is totally different already. I pass addition, she can read my mind. Who knows, right? You see, and what I'm trying to emphasize here is this: parents are the most critical elements or critical individuals that look into OBE. You are already planning for your child's growth. You're already planning, and it is not uncommon for students as young as 6 to 7 years old that parents have for tuition. Pernah dengar? 6 to 7 years old, parents have for tuition. Growth. I'm not saying it's bad. If you do it, it's fine. Okay. Growth, and then they teach the person what music class like this, like that. Why? Because they are not sure. They are fiddling in the dark. What is going to happen 13 years down the road? I tak tahu. So baik saya bagi semua. Exactly. You study OBE, you read OBE, outcomes based. Parents concern is make sure that they are good people. That's why you go for religious school, religious classes to build character. You are forecasting, you are doing outcomes based. Because you know, in 13 years' time, this boy is going to work, is going out to be a man. But what skills does he need? OBE. And when you say, I wanted this part, communication thinking, that is today. So if you are doing these skills, you're thinking that this is what it requires 13 years down the road, you may be doing the wrong thing. Same thing when we train our students, we give them a program. Ask yourself properly, the current program that the student is doing, would it be commitment? Are there the right skills inside there?
But the communication, that one, yes, because why? Currently, because you can see, like my kids, technology is makes them lacking in terms of to communicate well.
Human communication. Yes.
Like the ethical, we how we meet people.
Yes.
That's why I need to ensure that they have that kind of skills now. Ensure that in future they have the good attitude on their
Like good relation kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the reason why I put it communication that.
Correct. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying this is very current. But what I'm trying to say is also, we won't know. 5 years ago, I will never know that YouTuber or what you call a social influencer, like the Kardashians and so on, the amount of money they make and the way that it is done is totally changing the whole environment of what a career is, What a career is, The traditional aspect of jadi lawyer, doctor, cikgu, all those are changing already. That is what, yes, that's what I'm trying to emphasize when we talk about outcomes based. Outcomes based is always at the end. What are the skills that are required? So we need to question ourselves at times. Okay? So, like.
What is future?
Wait, nanti saya pergi. Future is in outcomes based, it's abstract. You need to know. You need to know what is going to happen. Okay? Teachers as a coach. We are not cikgu, we are facilitators. There's a difference, cikgu, teacher, coach. Cikgu mengajar, I tell you, listen. Coach, I guide you. Coach means guide. Students, because that is a key skill that is needed. Thinking, critical skill. So, we not only do we teach, but we want students to attain knowledge. Why are we a blended organization? UOW Malaysia KDU, short form KDU, we decided to be a blended organization in 2001. 30% minimum is because, one, the industry has told us during the COVID times, we want people who can think, who can find their own knowledge, who can make their own decision. So when you become a blended organization, you change the whole dimension of learning. Students is not given knowledge. In class, you are given. But now they have to attain. They go online, they learn, there is initiative, and they want to build that character. That is why for us, we start with 30%. That's about it. Okay, let's run it that way. Because that is what the industry is telling us. That is what the industry is telling us. During the heat of the MCO, 18th of March 2020, When that happened, we had industry, what do you call it, industry advisory board, all the schools, and I'm quite privy, I know what is happening. A lot of them say, a lot of our workers couldn't adapt. They couldn't adapt to the changing demands. They couldn't adapt to this and that. Okay, so that is what also triggered us. We need to make sure our students are able to adapt, able to change. Okay, so it was driven based on outcomes based. We want the student to have those kind of skills, independence, attain knowledge on their own, and self-attainment of knowledge. Okay. So, employers rate the importance of candidates. So this statistics was a few years old already. I want to put a caveat here. I know it's above the 5 years requirement for research data. But you see, what is important that employers want even during that? Alright? Before I go on to the ranking, you look at the side there, I just want to put this one. This is technical knowledge related to the job. This is what the students bring in with the degree. With the degree, he brings technical knowledge. And it is ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's ranked 7. What is critical? Verbal communication, work in the team, solve problem, plan, organize, process information, and so on. So what this key data here is trying to say is this. Degree, important, not say not important, you need to know. Alright, engineers, you need to know how to build a bridge. You cannot fail engineering and then go and build a bridge. You need to know. But that is not everything. Alright, what is critical? The company is looking for this, able to communicate. Speaking to clients, you don't understand, you cannot communicate your idea to clients. No way with your skill, nothing much you can do. So these are critical. So what we are trying to stress over here, when we're looking at outcomes based is, we need to understand, we are educators, we emphasize on technical knowledge, but we need to look at it in a more holistic manner, the whole big aspect. Our students graduate, they must have all of this. They must have teamwork, decision making, and so on. They must have. Which is already there in, I want to repeat again, kat mana? Which document already says that we're supposed to do that? MQA. So MQA memang baik. At least 3 times they should pay me money already. MQA memang baik. Have you read the document or not? I'm one of the idiots who actually read it. I got no choice. What am my job? It's good. It's a good document. Document lah good. Document good. Okay. Very clear. They even tell you, like diploma, what are the things that you need to achieve? Degree, what are the things you need to achieve? And then you read that document with your program standards. Oh, you can open your own university. Betul? Memang boleh. Baik. Application and things is different story lah. Okay. Different countries, different skill. 5 most important skills for employers globally. Globally, what do they see? Problem solving, teamwork, communication, adaptability, interpersonal skill. This one is still valid 2018. See? Main skills. Employers, same. 5 years ago, I went for a conference. During that time, the Maybank HR director was there. She was one of the keynote speakers. She was saying that over in Maybank now, a degree, last time they only look at first class degree, second class. Now they say no. We will take anybody come in with the correct personality and so on. So even though you have a third class degree or a second lower, no problem, you can apply. Alright? Then during the interview, you may find that you are suitable, we will take you also. Because now they understand. First class doesn't mean baik. They understand first class doesn't mean baik. Now, once the industry is thinking like that, Maybank, this was 5-6 years ago, I remember going for this conference. 5 years ago, they already started to think like that. And Malaysia, they are a little bit slower than other countries. Even certain countries that in the tech firms, no degree, you also can join. If you have the ability, creative ability, changing. So if that slowly goes, we need to be ready. So our emphasis, as I want to say again, repeating so many times like a broken record, should not be just emphasizing on the cognitive side. We need to build that total student, that student that is complete, that will be able to adapt to the changing environment. Because the employee is also evolving. Why are all the change, the demand on skill? Employee, dulu 95, work anytime. You work anytime. My boss sends me email 1 AM, not asking to reply. Her style of working is she is nocturnal. She's a bat. I always call her Dr. Hon. She's a style. I am totally different. I am morning person. For those of you who know me, 6:30 I'm in office. I do my work every day. They're different. The whole work, and it doesn't mean I need to see each other. I do not need to see Azwar for us to work together. We can be virtually in two separate entities. You guys are doing it. How many of you are teaching our colleagues in Penang, the students? And Penang's colleagues, how many of you are teaching UG students? No need are we in the physical sense, face to face. Now it is in a virtual world. So even time. Okay. The whole world, the boundaries of countries have been removed. We see us as one unit. Okay. You're working with Australia, you're doing research in Dubai. You see, so this is what is happening. Work in corporate office, work anywhere. This is what employees working anywhere. Now, with your laptop, you can do lessons. Dulu, before 18th of March 2020, you got chicken pox. You will tell your head of school, boss, I need to postpone 2 weeks of class. Cannot come. Then your boss will say, you better think of replacement. You are still okay, you know. But now, if you got chicken pox, boss, I do all virtually. Correct, man. Look at that change now. That change. That is the changing environment. Not to say what, belakang ni one of my colleagues, father passed away. Penang, dia pergi Penang. Tapi she go for funeral, father but she's teaching. She didn't cancel the class. She do virtually. Besok funeral, hari Mingguan. She's okay because this is expected, dia demam. But it could be done. You see what I say? Dulu, go there means cancel. So this is what it means go anywhere, any device. 18th of March 2020, there was one lecturer, not say maybe one or two lecturers, who did their classes using WhatsApp. During that time, because I was tasked to do all the things. So there was you did as well, right? You know why? Not cikgu, student. A lot of our students, our laptop, they are so used to coming to school, physical. They got no data plan. They are stuck in Kuala Lumpur, mother kat Batu Pahat, Johor. Sir, how to do class? Right, I'm stuck. I cannot travel. How? What is the best? Use WhatsApp. Send a slide using WhatsApp. Any device. This is the future. I won't call it future. After the 18th of March 2020, it is called the today. Not the future, it is the now, today. See? So, we can adapt. Because we already, now when we adapt, the first 2 weeks, susah kan? Really garu kepala. Every night cannot sleep. How to get advice the staff. I was having headache. What am I going to do? Even exam, we use Google Form, kan? Why? We look at solution. What is the fastest that we can do? Now, our student will need to have the same skills as us to be able to adapt and change. So, OBE philosophy focus on outcomes. So when we talk about outcomes, guys, it is important for us to understand outcomes. We need to look at very important this, the design. Design of the curriculum is very important. The design is the peta or the map. Peta kena betul. Okay? Now, traditionally we used to have a map to travel. If your map is not accurate, you masuk longkang. So this is called curriculum design. Who does this? School level. Do you do your program review? Must do. Program review setiap tahun kena buat. But doesn't mean setiap tahun kena change banyak-banyak. Must do. Textbooks kena tukar sikit-sikit sekali apa. But every cycle, one cycle means degree 3 years, diploma 2 years, must do a more aggressive program design to change if required. If after the program review, you baca and something is tidak diperlukan, you must have the courage to get rid of. Because that's not required. Many a times we put things in sebab dia senang. He has been there for 20 years. Tak nak tukar. Why? I got a lot of marketing lecturers. What are they going to do? But it's not what the student needs. The student needs other things now. The student maybe needs something else. Next, teaching and learning processes. Once you have your curriculum design, then the outcomes, teaching and learning, the process of delivery needs to also be reviewed. How do you deliver to ensure students understand? And finally, assessment. This is a validating process. Assessment is to validate betul ke tak? Sorry, effective ke tak? That's assessment. It means if the assessment says that this student is an A student, what does A mean? A means not only this person is competent, he is beyond competency and has achieved a certain level that has demonstrated additional knowledge or research. That is what A is. That is called assessment. And it must be precise to ensure that when this person is an A student, dalam phase 3 for example, and when the person is required to demonstrate that skill, the A student must be able to do that. A phase 3 suruh buat kek tak tahu. Habis, something is wrong. Then mana rosak? It could be any one of these. Maybe the curriculum is not designed properly. It never showed that must do that. Maybe the teaching and learning was only theoretical. No practical at all. Phase 3 without practical. Okay, and because of that, the assessment is exam. How do you make cake? She explained. First, you measure the flour, then you do this, then you whisk it, then you crack the egg. Dapat A lah, dia dapat A. Because can write. But what is required is demonstration. Tak boleh. So something is wrong. Something is wrong. Then if something is wrong, the outcome not achieved. Not achievable. So these are the critical aspects over here. Okay? It may not be the assessment problem, or it can be this problem. Understand? Okay? I've seen numerous schools. Sometimes I do program review for different schools. CE, tengok some of the thing there, the cost for what course subject never changed since FA was received full accreditation. Bila tu 15 years ago. Nothing changed. No, market never changed. Change. Then why you don't change? Susah. Because you change, susah. You change means change textbook. Lecturer need to change notes. You try, you are the head of school, guys, PLs and so on. You tell the lecturer, okay, I want you now, we're going to change the book because the previous one is no good. So I need you to change this topic and this, the slides that need to change. You need to change that. The muka won't be like that. The muka will be like, you watch out lah. Right. So used to doing the same thing, man. But when you don't change, siapa suffer? Bukan kita, siapa suffer? Student. Okay. So, OBE principles of maybe additional principles, we already have these 3 already. So now this is to further support clarity of focus. You need to clear focus and you must have intended outcome. Okay, this one you don't worry so much. Later when I give you the notes, you're going to copy. Alright. So, design down. Next, you must have intended outcome. This is what at the end of the day student must achieve. Second thing is design down. Design down means don't think of credit first. Think of what must achieve. Many of you all, when you all do your let's say your head tell you, okay, I want you to develop a marketing course. Straight away in your mind, oh, you need to take credit. So you take credit first, how many hours and so on. Wrong. It should be based on the demand of the student. If the demand of the student for marketing is agak tinggi, 160 notional hours, then it is for credit. If for this course, marketing you do, that is all he needs, and it is 80 notional hours, then the marketing is 2 credit. It should be designed down. Later I show you a plan one. Okay? High expectation. You always have standards that the students can achieve. High standards. High standards means not non-achievable standards. Students must know, students must be challenged. Second principles of Spady, who can remember? I take terus. Success breeds success. Somebody pay attention. No, success breeds success kan? Success breeds. No, why? Excellence. Once students success, it breeds success. So when you put standards there, challenging standards, student can achieve, they'll tell you, man, shocked, happy, thank you. Itu. And then you're motivated. They motivated. Once they're motivated, they want to continue. Those are the students that are so motivated, like some of the culinary students, when they can see, the good thing about culinary is this, I'm using that as an example because I was on there. When they can see their product, the cake that comes out, they are like, that is my work, and it is weekly. Whereas a lot of the theoretical papers is not weekly motivation. It is something even every week you may not do. That is why I want to encourage you all to do formative assessment. Do continuous formative assessment. So every week, the fire is always burning. And when students are good, be courageous to say, because success breeds success, John, well done. Good. Not so good one, don't worry, good try. You need help, I am here. When there is a good try, they make mistakes, you need to give the second bite. OBE, people achieve different pace. So you must tell them, I am here. You're not sure again, come and see me. You see? That is the drive way. And expand opportunities. Expanded opportunities for all students. So you want them, not all students to send the same way at the same time. Give them opportunity to learn in different ways. Different ways. Currently, we are doing a very traditional aspect. For me, I try to integrate different elements. Like now, I'm doing a normal lecture, but I'm also very animated, as you can see. Okay, that's why I need to exercise. I finished 4 hours training, calories down, but that is the way. So I'm using others now. I can also do this. All right, colleagues. How does it motivate the colleagues then? So this is what it is. Now, I have observed majority of our staff are very animated. They put their heart into it. When you put your heart into it, you can see the students having that wanting to learn, and that is under the principle of Spady important. Okay, so at times in your explanation, let's say dia orang tak faham, you can tell them, maybe a bit of Chinese later I explain to you. Don't use Mandarin, BM, or whatever you. In class, you use English, but if I'm explaining to the student who has difficulty understanding English in the comprehension part, you can explain in EM, but you must always tell them that this is important for you to understand in English because it's delivered by the explain to you in EM. This is what it is. Not all learners can learn the same thing in the same way. Okay? Now, so OBE requisites. Hello. All right. So, are there any questions so far? Can our colleagues online, any questions? Online colleagues? Online colleagues?
Maybe the typing is in class.
No.
So far, so good.
No question. All right, thank you very much. You can see me. Later, I will introduce you to my colleagues. They are all sitting at the back, naughty students. Okay, now OBE requisites. Okay, what the student learn must be clearly identified, must be very clear. What the student will learn must be very clear. Two, the student's progress is based on demonstrated achievement. Students' progress is on demonstrated achievement. Okay, practical easy lah. They demonstrate practically, but if it's a theory, also they need to demonstrate. Demonstrate doesn't mean to exam. It could be just formative. They need to demonstrate their knowledge. So what I used to do previously is very simple. One lecture, 2 hours, I will break it down into maybe 2 to 3 parts. Upon completing my first part, 40 minutes, I will do, dulu I use Kahoot, just Kahoot free, now Kahoot charge. So now we use Quizzy. So I question all the must know. All the must know. Every lesson has this thing called must know and good to know. Must know are the basic theories of that lesson that student must know. Good to know is the things that you add in extra to further enhance the learning. So every end of the first part of the lesson, 2 jam, 45 minutes, I cover that first part. I will do a quiz on the must know. Every student do. After they do already, I see the paratus. If the paratus is less than 80% of betul, I will stop and I will repeat theory. So that the students are on track. They all the must know. If they are already above the 80%, generally, I would say, well done students, go and enjoy your break. You know you are following me. Good, well done. They are all confident, they go up, come back on time. Those who still don't understand, come and see me personally. Two things I do. I have done formative assessment. I know myself that I am on the right track and students are motivated. Then at the end of the second part, I will do quizzy again on the must know. Now, do you need to ask 50 questions on quizzy? No, it could be 3 questions only. Because your must know for 45 minutes, you guys are teachers. It can be 2 theory, we talk for 2 hours. You know, OBE, 1 hour plus already is 17 already. You see, but the must know here, if you see what I covered, so far until now, if I to ask you, what are the must know is difficult? So far, that I covered, 17 slides. Which slide do you think is the must know? Very good. Principle of OBE. Ada berapa?
Steady one for which one?
The first part, the first component. 3, very good. 3, not too bad lah. The second one is further enhancement. He put the steady. She can never be steady. Is it the first time you're being steady? Or you pernah dengar? Never heard. Very good. She can remember. Steady one. This is demonstration of knowledge. This is bukti. This is evidence. You get it? Senang. Tak susahnya. So why I use quizzy? Quizzy not only ada bukti online. You see? So that is my evidence. Formative assessment. Student 80%, go and do that. Quite fun one. And our student, they all damn kiasu one. Seriously, they like to be the one that, yeah, aku boleh, you know. So there is always the must know and the good to know. Okay, so you must emphasize on the must knows. Multiple instruction and assessment strategies need to be available to meet the needs of each student. Different strategies we use to meet the needs of the student, and adequate time and assistance need to be provided so that each student can reach the maximum potential. Adequate time and support. We are not here, always remember, we are not here to make all the students A students. They need to be competent. Competent is a requirement for learning. Now, general basic learning is this. Any student that goes to your class, pay attention 100%, go back, don't study, should pass. Pass. They pay attention 100%, they know, should pass. They go back, they read their text, their notes and their textbook, B-. They read their book, they read their textbook, they read additional, they are the B+ student. That is how it is. A student should not be given like pasar malam sweets, you know. There must be a certain demonstration for being an A student. So that is why a lot of our questions, I'm talking about diploma level. That is why what is 3 is the knowledge part. When they can express the knowledge, they can list the knowledge, they can explain the knowledge, not apply, they will pass. Even your questions are done 10 marks, the explanation part 4 marks, 5 marks, the application part is another 5 marks. They can explain 5 marks, 50 marks, pass. That is how it's supposed to be. You don't want students to apply, synthesize everything and only can pass for the diploma student. That is wrong. You get, okay, sometimes in our mind, because you guys are teaching masters, PhD students, so when you teach your diploma student, you expect the same thing. Bukan, tak boleh. OBE bukan macam tu. You need to know what the student must identify. Okay? So, what is the relevance of OBE? Prof. Radin. Rating accreditation requirements, of course, rating accreditation requirements. Quality assurance audit, MOE, MQF, emphasizing on learning outcomes. So since 2006, 2007, 2008, there is more on learning outcomes. Dulu under LAN, dia lain sikit. Then under MQA, dia lain sikit. Okay, lembaga akreditansi negara, that one was different. Was not so much on learning outcome, was more just syllabus. Now there's more learning outcome. Also, they found out that our graduates are also competitive with that. So they need to make sure our graduates are competitive in the market. So this is the learning outcome. Accreditation requirement for professional programs, bodies emphasize on learning outcome. Here in KTU, we have nursing board, we have engineering board, we have certain computing and so on. They have very standards, very precise standards, and they all go up to learning outcome. Why? Because in their field, let's picture the learners that don't achieve learning outcome in the past. You know what is the impact? Zero. They, do not give injection and this and that, but they don't achieve learning outcome. That is why they are very strict learning outcomes. Okay. Benefits, real benefits of OBE, anticipation of real benefits, more directed and coherent curriculum. This is the one I like. I like this one. If you are a practitioner of OBE, your curriculum is more coherent and it is more directed. Why? Because whatever you put there, it's not because you nak masuk, it's because keperluan student. Keperluan student. The student needs this when they graduate. That's why I put it in. Not because I want to put it in. Graduates will be more relevant. This is another keyword. To industry and other stakeholders. To be competitive, to be competitive, more relevant and competitive, right? And CQI. When you look at OBE, CQI is an inevitable consequence. That means program review yearly. Tiap-tiap tahun kena buat program review, must. The market changes. Okay. 30 more years, the sun is going to work. We also do not know what's going to happen. But now what we can do is, as teachers, as facilitators, as educators, our degree students got 3 more years for them to graduate. Okay? So if they join us in 2022, they will graduate in 2025. So we need to make sure that when they come out in 2025, with a KTU degree, they can cari kerja. If come out, tak boleh cari kerja, we fail them. Or come out, tak ada ethics, lompat bank, we fail them generally. Come out, cannot structure a sentence properly, we fail them. So that is what we will say we are going to do. Therefore, okay, there are two therefore. Therefore, this button doesn't move. Okay, OBE is an educational process. Directed focus on achieving certain specific outcomes in terms of individual students learning the outcome. It is both structures and curricula are designed to achieve. So the structure of the program and the curriculum will be impacted by OBE, and educational structure and curriculum are regarded as means, not end. Your syllabus or your structure or your curriculum, it is not fixed forever. That's what it means. You must change. This is the emphasis I want to put here also. Always understand your curriculum is not fixed. Your curriculum is alive. Bachelor in Hospitality Management, Bachelor in Culinary, Bachelor in Computing is alive. It must be alive. It must change as most of all. Okay? So, as what we said, process that involves the restructuring of curriculum, assessment, and reporting practices, OBE, restructuring. And I would like to stress here, among expected changes, when you practice OBE, you are going to see curriculum restructuring and revision, innovative flexible delivery methods, variety of assessment evaluation methods, collection of evidence, and continuous quality. Okay, so in the nutshell, this is the welcome to OBE. I'm going to give you a break now, a short break. Then now I'm going to show you the process. This is the one that a lot of you are asking. How do we do this? How do we do that? This is the process. The process goes in stages. Okay, guys, go for a short break. It is maybe take 5 minutes. Toilet very close by in here. Go, and then we will continue. All right? All right. All right, those of you who are online, please go for your short break too. 5 minutes and we'll be back. Go. Okay, quite fun, this lab, seriously. It's quite good. Guys, are you alright?
Yes.
Okay, we are to continue. So we are going to look into the OBE process. How is OBE applied and the general design and planning of OBE itself in institutional level. So under the institution, you know, this is under the whole KBU policies. However, under the school itself is where most of the practice is done. Okay, so the first thing that is always we look at when we do OBE is on the planning stage. Planning, first stage most important, it is the planning. So here is we start developing the curriculum. Okay, so when you start developing the curriculum, before you do anything, let's say we want to develop a bachelor in hospitality management. Okay, so the first thing that you need to look at here is to look into your PEO. Okay, this is the most important. Now, program educational objectives. Program educational objectives is basically what the student must have when they graduate and until 3 to 5 years after that. So the skills that the student must have when they graduate until 3 to 5 years from that. So let's say we are giving, we have a program, Bachelor in Hospitality, and this year we have students coming in 2022, students will graduate in 2025, so we need to make sure that the students are relevant from 2025 to 2030. That is our role, because we cannot forecast anything more than that already. So that is called PEO. That is the most important thing. This is so important that it will drive other things. So once you know your PEO already, now, at times, we have this thing called program standard. You can refer your PEO to program standard, but I would like to put a caveat. A lot of program standard never revealed. The government, I mean the NQA, they have program standard for certain courses. That is 2016, 2017, so it's no more relevant. The most recent change in program standards, I think, was computing, business school, and hospitality. Your new program standards. You see, so they are supposed to review it every 3 to 4 years, 3 to 4 years like that. So they will do the research and they will forecast what is happening. So they will come up with the PEO. Okay? Now, once this is clear, later I'm going to explain to you where you get the information from. Once PEO is clear, only you come up with your program learning outcome, PLO. Right? So then you come up with your PLO, and PLO is guided by the MQF 2.0. MQF 2.0, right? So under your PLO, you will have MQF 2.0, we have the 5 clusters. We need to abide by the 5 clusters, so you will need this. Don't do this first before you do PEO, so PEO is always first. Now, where do you get feedback? Where do you get PEO feedback or info? It's through industry advisory. Advisors will tell you, hey, I'm in the industry now, I see 5 years down the road, ini adalah keperluan. They will tell you. 2, journals. You read journals, hospitality journals, computing journals, and do forecast. 3, futurists. Futurists are people who are certain key people who actually predict this is what the world is going to happen. 4, alumni. Our alumni graduate, they come and tell you, man, I graduated 2 years ago, still cannot find a job. Why I can't interview? They say my skills are not relevant. It's new, man. Okay, it's telling you. So these are the things. Dan lain-lain lagi. Okay, so this is what is important. I always tell my colleagues, hey guys, Malaysia, we have a book now, we have a document that is forecast the future one. Pernah tahu? Malaysia ada government yang keluarkan. It's called Malaysia Plan. Memang ada kan? What is the Malaysia Plan? Malaysia Plan is PEO lah, government do PEO for our country. Dalam 5 tahun, ini akan jadi. Dalam 10 tahun, ini akan jadi. So what Malaysia Plan now? Tujuh. Ada kan? Of course ada lah. You read that. That one is important. It actually forecast not only apa yang nak di-develop, also di mana. Like we want to emphasize on Johor ke, emphasize on Kelantan ke, or whatever. Malaysia Plan is actually a document forecast. Okay, it's supposed to forecast where we want to go. Our plan, that's called plan. Ini nak whether, sorry, 7, right? So it's Malaysian plan 7 kan? Actually forgot, sorry lah.
Rancangan Malaysia 13.
Oh, it's 13.
We are now moving to 13, not to 12.
Moving to 13. So 13 sudah keluar lah. So sudah fokus lah. So as you know, not every plan will work lah. Like Vision 2020, now 2022. I mean, your plan is memang baik, but at least it gives you a rough idea of what's happening. Now, I want to emphasize again, so this one is most important, PEO first. Okay? Then after that, this is called planning stage. This is called planning. You buat this one, you do this one. Next, you look into your curriculum. When you do OBE curriculum, guys, this is it. You will look into your CLO. What do you want to achieve first? So let's say you are coming up, you already got your PLO. One of the PLO aspects over there is to do with knowledge, cognitive skill, and then if you're a hospitality course, you want to teach marketing. Marketing is important, kan? Let's say under your PEO here, marketing is important. So when you do your curriculum, you set your learning outcome first. So now when you set learning outcome, first thing, you need to know what level. So this is diploma. So diploma students learning outcome CLO for marketing, apa yang perlu dia orang belajar. So this is guided by this your program learning outcome in your PO. Your advisory board, we have told you, okay guys, we need students who are able to market not only in the traditional sense but online, but everything. Marketing is so important now. So traditionally you only had one subject of marketing, hospitality marketing. But because your feedback here by the industry say it's so important, when you put your CLO, you what? Oh, student must do this, student must do that, student. Tiba-tiba ada 8 CLO. 8, tak apa. That is penting, ada 8. So when you do 8 over here, normally your course ada 8 ke 4 credit, tak ada kan? So 8, so it's very big lah. Don't break it down first, Then you do student learning, 2 ways of looking at it. I will say that don't break it down first, all the 8 CLOs that they must achieve, then you do your learning activities. For them to achieve these 8 CLOs, let's say got 8 CLOs, what kind of teaching and learning activities that is required? Lecture, I need to lecture more. This one I need to lecture. I lecture. Actually, my contact hours at the end of the day pun banyak juga. Okay, tak apa. Then you look into your assessment. You calculate your teaching and learning activities, you calculate the type of assessment, then you get your student learning time. Let's say you calculate semua, student learning time 320. 320 ya guys, 320. So if it's 320, berapa kredit tu? 8, very good, 8. How do you get 8? 320 bagikan dengan 40, so 8. Now, 8, this course is 8 credit hour lah. Now, ada ke 8 credit hour? Ada lah, so what do we do? Break it to 2 lah, we break it to 2. So it's 4 credit. Now, your boss tell you, kita marketing for the past 30 years, hospitality bagi 1 marketing saja. Then now why you want to give 2? What's your answer? Industry cakap PEO. The future, we need marketers, we need people who are able to do e-marketing, we are able to do online marketing, we are able to do face-to-face marketing, we are able to do underwater marketing, any kind of marketing. And because they say that already, I do course learning outcome, there is this 8 course learning outcome memang must achieve. And when I calculate, it comes down to 320, and when I calculate, it is 8 credit hours, so I divide into marketing 1, marketing 2 lah. Can your boss say anything? No. Not because, ini bukan saya nak buat, industri yang beritahu. And if you say cannot do, then you tell the boss, you don't do, tak apa, student go out, not competent. Now, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how it is supposed to be. It is driven from top down. Remember we're talking about top down? Top down driven is like that. Now, the problem with a lot of us when we set our courses, when we design courses, is like this. We are going to do a marketing, it's going to be 3 credits. We state the 3 credits. Itu yang salah. When you say 3 credits, the SLT is 3 kali 40 maximum. So it's 120. Roughly lah, can be more than that a little bit, but that is the guide. And that is the challenge. Okay? Alright? Okay. So once this is done, after developing, it is implementation. Implementation is whatever you do, you implement, documentation. Here we have evidence lah, your test blueprint, your lesson plan, marking scheme, rubric, all important. All of these are evidence. SOW, all of these are evidence. This is called implementation. You all do this very well. Every semester, when you run your courses, this is what you do. Okay, you do. This is called implementation. And this you implement. Okay, then finally you implement already, you do evaluating. You evaluate how effective was it. You evaluate and analysis, you close the loop. Whatever you do here, betul. Okay, now if you do certain things, let's say your lesson plan, normally you do banyak lecture, then you may find that your students cannot take it, then you may want to adapt, change a little bit. This is called CQI, continuous quality improvement. You go back, you can change. All of these are not set in stone. This one can change, formative, summative assessment can change. This is what it is. This is the OBE process. Okay, so where is critical? Here. This one dictates this one, dictates this one, dictates this one, dictates the course. Okay, that is OBE. Why are we doing this? Because the outcome of the student is critical, and this is what is needed in the student. Now, let's take another situation. We don't change. After we evaluate your marketing, the current one 4 credits, you may need 4 credits. But after evaluation, you find that this needs to change. Currently is lecture. Lecture is 42 hours. Currently, your marketing, you teach 3 credits, lecture 42, very traditional. But you find that the PEO says you want students that are more critical, can think better. So you change the P&L activities. Credits all don't change, you just change P&L. Not lecture 42, but lecture every week only 2 hours. So 2 kali kita teaching week berapa? 11 kan? 12, sorry. 12 kali 2, 24. 24 lecture, but a lot of discussion in tutorial. You push your tutorial hours. Actually, guys, tutorial is where students apply. Lecture is knowledge they learn. Tutorial they apply. So actually, the pathway of going towards a larger, bigger span of tutorial is more important. Okay? Lecture can be classroom, big lecture theater. Tutorial need to be small. Okay? So you change lah. You may want to change. You do that. You just change the teaching and learning activities, right? Based on the feedback. Any questions? This one is important. Now, siapa guide ini? Subject expert. All of you are subject experts. You got panel. The panel kan? So your panel are the group of subject experts that will discuss on the implementation. Your changes here will depend on the outcome that you want to achieve. Okay? Outcome that you want to achieve. Questions? Next SEM, I'm going to teach entrepreneurship for diploma group. I've already structured it already. 2 jam, it's a 4 credit, 4 credit diploma. It's diploma, 4 credit. This is done. So I'm only going to do 2 hours lecture a week. I don't get it. 2 hours is more than enough. I wanted to apply because it needs to be very applicable to apply and kind of thing. A lot of my students want to book up early childhood center. So they need to fly. So this is how it is. That is because you look at it, the knowledge part is already there. 2 hours only I'm going to do. More tutorials, more discussion tutorials, let's do something. Every time when you finish the lecture, the tutorial will be related to the lecture immediately. Let them apply so that you know how to do. Okay? So, what is important? I say PEO kan? Now, I'm going to emphasize on PEO here. Program education objectives are specific goals consistent in the mission of the vision of the IHL is Institute of Higher Learning. The IHL Institute of Higher Learning, KDU. It contains the 9 MOHE attributes or the 5 clusters. Responsive to the express interest of program stakeholders. So it is based on the program stakeholders, the market, and describing the expected achievement or career milestone of graduates in their career and professional life few years after graduation. They say few years, but I'm just going to say roughly 3 to 5 years. Few years, don't want to slow down, 3 to 5 years. That is what PEO is. Okay, PEO is. PEOs are employability attributes and selling points of your program. That's, at the end of the day, students are able to achieve this with what you need. That is what is important. Okay, so this one don't need to worry so much. Okay, this is the one, the 5 clusters. The 5 clusters are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cluster 3, this is normal, this is your MQF document. Cluster 3 is divided. Now, when you hear, when I say, how come got 11? 11 is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is personal is 1, entrepreneurship is 1. Okay, that is why it's 11. That's why it's 11. Now, another thing I want to show you here, guys, you know the 3, cognitive, psychomotor, affective. Okay, if you look at this one, official document, government, cognitive ada berapa? C. Cognitive skill, 1, 2. Numeracy skill, this one grey area lah, this one digital depending on the discipline, grey area. 3 saja lah. Psychomotor, 1. Affective, heart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means our government document is now very good. They know how to build and develop a complete individual. A person that has communication, interpersonal, leadership, personal, entrepreneurship, ethics. Memang our official document, MQF, everything there. And MQF already said, out of the 11, 6 is effective. But when we do our assessment, we do our testing, or we do our, at the end of the day, formative and summative assessment, we always test on. Now you know why when you hear a lot of graduates come out, go to the industry, dapat 4.0 but cannot work. Because they are paper very good, but they do not know how to do interpersonal and so on. That is the challenge. So, under the domains, these are all already there. Questions here? Now, caveat. Not all is equally divided. It doesn't mean ada 100% divide by 11 subclusters, dapat 9. No, doesn't mean 9% for cognitive. No. It means, of course, students come for the discipline. Lebih kurang 70%, 70% will be discipline related. Discipline related is going to be cognitive aspects. Okay, sure one, 70%, your emphasis is cognitive aspect. But the other 30%, you still need to look at the others. So you cannot, in a way, make it like ethics, like a slingshot or just a bypass of your thought. Okay lah, I go in and tell her apa itu ethics, itu sudah penting. No, cannot. That's not enough. Okay, you get what I'm trying to say. It doesn't mean it's divided equally. No, it doesn't mean 9% each. It can be this. It's going to be like 70% on the knowledge base. Hospitality, bachelor in culinary management. Practical will be teaching also. So you will see 70 to 80% is going to be knowledge, cognitive, and practical skill. Okay, but you cannot mengabaikan. You cannot. It needs to be emphasized also. Okay, in their development as complete individuals. Okay, now you may ask, okay, apa bezanya personal, interpersonal, communication? See, this is something a lot of my colleagues ask. Okay, what's personal? Personal is your own skill. Your own skill of development. Interpersonal is between individuals. Communication is getting your message through. May not be speaking, it can be writing, it be dancing. This is what they're looking at there, you know. They're even emphasizing on just the personal skill. That means waking up early on time, managing your time, and so on. So it's something that is lacking. Now, this is MQF domain version 2.0. I can bet you, not more than 3 years' time, there's going to be a version 3.0. Things have changed. This one came out sebelum COVID. And now they are already, sudah tukar. Already, PT3 taken away, they already thought, hey, something must change. So when education ministry change certain things, you may see bigger changes. That's what you were saying, the 13 Malaysia plan. Changes you may see. And this will happen. And dulu changes happen. Like a plan is 5 to 10 years, I mean 10 years. Now it's going to be shorter and shorter because the world is getting too unpredictable that you cannot forecast. You cannot forecast what is happening. So it's going to be shorter and shorter. So this is going to change, okay, in due time. Okay. So PEOs, 4 to 5 statements on what the graduates are in 4 to 5 years' time, must include all 9 MOE learning outcomes on the 5 clusters. Okay. These are for degree programs and above, all right, should include all. Now, there is a caveat, MQA allows, if you are diploma and below, you can maybe miss out one, it's fine. But for degree and above, you must have all. The reason for them to say this is because they always look at diploma, foundation, and certificate as not the final award. It's like you habis, you still do your degree. Degree is like the final award. So these 5 clusters should cover from degree and above. However, if it covers all your programs, it's even better. So what we try to practice here in ADU, we want all programs to cover the 5 clusters. Okay? These objectives are not directly measurable, but serves as an aim to what graduates will be many years after graduation. It's not immediately measurable. PEOs, so it's when they graduate, this is what they will have. Okay. So different levels of learning outcomes. So we have your PEOs, graduate 4 to 5 years. It will drive the PLO, it will drive your CLO, and it will drive. This is called your LLO, lesson learning outcome. Every week you go to class, you have a lesson, right? You do lesson, and every lesson got your learning outcome. So when your lesson learning outcome achieved, it will impact your CLO, PLO, and eventually your PO. You don't achieve this, you don't achieve at the end of the day, this one will not be achieved. Okay, so that's why this is critical. This one dictates all of this. This one dictates everything. Okay, so normally when we do program review, the first thing we ask, we don't jump into let's change this, let's change that. The first thing we look is let's review PEO. So when you review your PEO, you need to get your advisory board to give feedback. So you say, okay, let's say you have advisory board, Datin Jasmine or whatever, ma'am, can you see this is our PEO? This is what we plan for the student when they graduate. Is it still relevant? Then she look at it, she say, okay, maybe certain things you may want to tweak, or she may advise, the future we see this and that, and you want to take the feedback. Doesn't mean you change 100%, you take the feedback, and then you redesign your PEO. Okay, right? This is how. Questions? So this is how it should be, but many schools or departments, they go directly to change this. They change this not knowing or not considering this too, because they are looking into a very micro environment. I look at marketing, let's change marketing. You see? But padahal your changes may not be what is needed, or maybe not needed at all. So you have to look at the top, then it goes down. Okay. Another thing, PEO, alumni, MISI, VC, mission and vision, stakeholders, penasihat industry, drive PEO, PLO, CLO. See, this is from ministry. I put it there to emphasize this is how they look at it. Even every time when we have people, the officers come, so they are asked, so have you assessed, evaluated your PEO? Those who are in the know, those who do not know what, they don't even ask about that, which is wrong. They should see in that. They should see that. Now, Hospitality school, KEU, hospitality school, tailors, we are all developing programs, we are developing students for the future time. Same degree students. Does that mean we must have the same PEO? Not necessary. No. Why? We look at it differently. The future, we forecast it differently. They forecast it differently. Because of the way that they forecast, their PEO is different that drives their PLO. That is why there is argument on the context of program standards. The program standards is so rigid that it doesn't allow schools to change, which is ridiculous because the market changes, and if I need to follow a program standard, all the programs will be generic. Correct, right? And there is no clear determinant on what the future is going to be, which is actually not right. In my opinion, I find it not right. Program standards should be a guide, not followed to the T guide, especially on these aspects. Okay, right? This is how you can look into it.
Question.
Yeah.
Because I went to do accreditation for both programs, diploma and degree. So, for the diploma program, the MBA panel was alright with changing a bit of the program standards to fit the program. But for the degree program, they asked why you should follow the exact percentage of negative, percentage of discipline based on the program standards. So that's why it was wrong.
That is where the challenge is. Like as I said, depending on the officers, you will have a group of officers that actually say that I am from the school that program standards should be a guide because the development of the program standards may not be relevant at that time. It was developed maybe like 2017, 2018, can be impact. And it is also allowing us to be creative. It will be the differentiating factor in our uniqueness. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us different. So it should be a guide.
The program standard was last year.
Yours last year. Correct. But see, that is where it is. It comes down to the officers that evaluate. One say can, one say no issue, you know. So sometimes we are caught. It's like when I say about when Tuan Haji told me, hey, your contact hours, it depends how you define. Whereas some of the officers come, hey, you're going to ikut 40. You must have more contact hours. So you sudah kepala, you know what? So every time that happens, what happens is because we are so afraid for accreditation, we just fall back to the tradition. Contact hours 40. Then your boss will say, ikut program standard lah, just ikut lah, just ikut lah.
Then it goes back to the teaching the way how the standard, the curriculum designs. So when it goes back to the teaching learning, so that one we need to adjust, I think, according to what we want, but still we have to go back to the curriculum design.
Correct. So our program standards, let's say we've been talking about the context of program standard. Program standard is a document that says what are the PEOs and the PLOs. It speaks for you already. Alright. Now, on the matter of credits and contact hours, let's say it is we are looking at teaching and learning processes. Yes, you can change your teaching and learning processes or practices even if your CLO don't change. Your CLO maintains, of course, learning outcome, but you change based on the demands of the student. So that one you can change. That one not much of an issue. But we say lah, Tuan Haji say can lah. Officers come, they say, hey, why you not enough contact hours? That is a headache lah. You all know lah. Audit pematuhan public right.
They will go for the totally audit yang one should be.
Yes.
That's why the problem goes back to us, which is that how we justify it.
That is why, as what Madi was saying, at the end of the day, because of situations like that, it's supposed to tell him, I know you want to do the right thing, just ikut saja, just ikut, just do. Right lah, we don't want headache, we just do. Which I'm not supposed to say that because I'm supposed to encourage innovation. Encourage innovation and new tech OBEs and such. Okay, so basically, I always want you all to think on this. If you have to develop PEOs for the undergraduate program in your discipline that is planned to launch in 2023 next year, you're going to launch undergraduate program in your course, in your discipline. What are the PEOs? So, for example, you may want to do a bachelor. You want to do a bachelor in culinary and science, or something like that. Let's say, So what are the DEOs? What are the things that the student must have? So you need to do forecast lah. 2023, student graduate 2026. So you need to forecast apa keperluan student for the Bachelor in Hospitality and Science from 2026 to 2030 lah, for example. Then only can you start writing your DEOs. You focus on that. Once that is clear, then only you can do your PLO and your CL. This is the driving one. So this is something which I want you to think about it. It's a very good test in a way for you to think, just for you to think. Okay. So like remember earlier on when we were talking about requirement of your child, 13 years time, same thing, but this is realistic. I'm not surprised your boss will ask you, hey, we need to develop more programs. College need more programs. So what programs shall we do? A lot of us do things based on familiarity. I still remember when I was tasked to teach human resources last time. This was the early 2000s. Alright? Hey, you are? I was teaching behavior. Hey, you need to teach it. No problem. You know what's the first thing I fell back on? My degree syllabus. Because I did HR in degree. I ikut lah. Everything bulat-bulat. But the degree was done 5 years ago. It wasn't that relevant. It wasn't relevant. But I ikut. Why? Not senang. Not senang. So we ikut. We always fall back to familiarity. That's the challenge. Understand this, guys? Questions on this? Okay. Now, see, the thing is, we need to inculcate that thought, the way of thinking, this style of thinking, so that during, like you guys, when you all come for the sessions, we have other colleagues online and also the first cohort. When you learn, when you know the practices over here, you go back, we want to spread the word, You know, this is how you all should think, start thinking about. So when more people think of the same way, you see the importance, and that is how it should be practiced. So we hope by doing so, our students will benefit. Okay? Understand? So that is it. So under OBE itself, they must always start on the learning domains, right? Because when you're talking about outcomes based, at the end of the day, it's important for us to also emphasize on the learning domains, which this one I'll run through a bit faster because you guys are quite well versed with it, right? So Benjamin Bloom, this is Benjamin Bloom over there. Basically, he did not create all the taxonomies, but he was involved in most of the taxonomies. Even though his name is not the first name, but he's also part of it, due to the fact that he looks into this kind of learning domains. So based on these taxonomies, there are actually 3 key aspects. In learning, in development, OBE is very important to understand that when we develop an individual, we must develop the complete nature. We need to develop the cognitive, the thinking, the practical, or what they call the psychomotor, the working, and of course the effective. Let me give you one example of psychomotor. Psychomotor most difficult one, unless you're practical class. Now, certain people, business school, here how? Okay. You join, wherever you're staying, you join ABU first time. First day, you use ways. Okay? You follow people, bulat-bulat. Second day, you ikut, bulat-bulat also. Third, fourth, fifth. After 1 week, you find that you do not need ways, you can go to ABU by driving. After ways. After 1 month, you can even drive, and sometimes your mind can blank off, think of something, and you're just driving. Betul? I'm not saying blank off, lambat tiap lah, but you're not concentrating either. If you're driving, you're thinking what's for dinner, what's for lunch, because you are so familiar. That is psychomotor. Psychomotor is the way that we develop in such a way that now we become accustomed to it. When you do, another example, folding ketupat. First time you do, come out ugly. Second time you learn. Third time, when you do so frequent, you can talk. Then it's there. Correct, right now. You don't need to see, you know. Psychomotor high level. It becomes spontaneous. That is psychomotor. That is psychomotor skill. Okay? So when we talk about learning domains, there are all this one hard, hot, and skills. Okay, and it is important in all disciplines at differing levels. Okay, classifications of the different objectives that educators set for students. So when we talk about the taxonomies over here, there are different classifications that students need to achieve, and also based on discipline and different discipline, different aspects. Okay, so there are 3 key domains as what you see over here. Within the taxonomies, learning at a higher level is dependent on having attained prerequisite knowledge and skills at a lower level. There is a bit of a hierarchy over there. All right. So it means that before you know how to do synthesis, Bloom's taxonomy cognitive synthesis aside, you need to have knowledge, you need to apply, you need to synthesize. So it's always knowledge, apply, and create. Create is synthesize. So before you can create something, you must need to apply, and before you apply something, you need to know how to, you need the knowledge. So the best example we always give is like this. If I ask you guys, all of you, go and buy mango. Buy 3 mangoes from Tesco. Easy or difficult? Easy. Buy mango, and that's the instruction. You go, you just take 3 mangoes, come back. A trained monkey can do also. Now, I twist it a bit. Buy good quality mangoes. What do you need to have? Knowledge. And then you need to apply the knowledge. So you need to go and you need to, when you take the mango, it comes into your mind, knowledge. Okay, what was the theory we learned? Good mango must have smell, so you will. Then it must have a certain soft touch, you touch a little bit. Maybe the tinge of the color, so you see. If the 3 criteria are met, persamaan, good mango, percentage high. No guarantee. Percentage high. Knowledge reduces uncertainty, reduces mistakes. That is what it means. You must know the theory, the knowledge, before you can apply. At a higher level, is synthesize. Create your own mango. Can or not? My mother used to do it. It's called bud grafting. Heard before? You know what I mean? Bud grafting is where mother orang tua, she work for Rizal and dia plant. You take the plant, you cut the side, you take the another leaf, you join, you turn, and then the harum manis, you campur with don't know what, come out hybrid.
Yes.
That is synthesized. Now, before she does that, she needs to think, what are the conditions? This one can mix with this, and so you create new. That is higher level. Trial and error. She's not a scientist. She's just a normal person, but she does that based on the knowledge on that higher level. Before she could do that, she needs to know what are the conditions. That is what is under knowledge. Under Bloom's taxonomy. You need to know lower, then you go higher, then you go higher. You cannot jump. You cannot tell the person who doesn't know about mangoes to say, okay, I want you to create something new. You cannot. I need to know the basics. Understand that? So, a goal of Bloom's taxonomy is to motivate educators to focus on all 3 domains, creating a more holistic form of education. We create 3 because holistic. Already the NQF in Malaysia already said, right? We saw the 11. Out of the 11, 6 is affective, 3 is cognitive, 1 is psychomotor, and 1 is in between. Okay, so it's clear even in Malaysia's educational standards. So this is how it is, 3 hits. Okay, cognitive, psychomotor, affective. Yeah. So this one straightforward Okay. Then learning outcomes, Bloom's, Cottrell, and Simpson. These are different. We are using their taxonomies, but Bloom's is basically involved in all of those. There are many versions. Many versions. You may see knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. Sometimes they will put even creation. Not wrong. Every theory grows from it. Alright? It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right now. Maslow's hierarchy. You know Maslow's hierarchy, right? Abraham Maslow came out with the hierarchy from the lowest physiological needs to self-actualization. And according to Abraham Maslow, you must go through all steps. Recently, people have rebuffed it. If I'm a religious person, I can be from physiological needs, either food, either shelter. Lepas tu, I bypass and I understand God and I reach self-actualization. So, Maslow's hierarchy is kasih buang lah. Yes, the more you read, guys, the more holistic it's true. The Sami stay under the tree, religious. Evolve, but the basic theory remains. evolution of theory. So I'm not saying this is fixed in stone, but this is the basis. The more you read, the more things are. It could be ambitious, new cognitive theory. Maybe there is now a next one. You know? Okay. So cognitive domain basically they will always look at satu dua as lower order. This is mainly regurgitation, knowledge, list, define anything that doesn't apply. Here is application. Using this, you apply it to situation. List or describe marketing activities for KDU in the current economic situation. You apply it. And finally, you synthesize to evaluate. This is creation. Okay? So it is the same for all psychomotor here, guide, mechanism, check, and all the way up. And then we have affective. Now, all of this at different levels should be used in your course. Now, there are certain courses that we have here, MBU courses. MBU courses do touch a lot on the affective and on the psychomotor also, but more on the affective side. Yeah? The affective side of it, the MBU courses. Okay? So, in general delivery, what level of learning should the subject offer? Subject or course? Sorry, this is supposed to be course. I want to use the word course more frequently because in official document, the subject is called course. Course learning outcome, they call it subject learning outcome. Now, basically, if it's diploma, we should look at cognitive 3, psychomotor 4, affective 3. If it is PhD, 665, highest level. Right? PhD level, if somebody define marketing, you don't need marks, please. Not supposed to. Okay? So as you can see, the higher level it goes, the taxonomy will then channel, or I would say curve more to the right. It curves more to the right. Now, take note, caveat, does not refer to the maximum neither the minimum. This is to show you the expected coverage, but it doesn't mean diploma must be until C3. You can go C5, small but over it. If you're looking at design, when students can draw and create, that is creation. Creation really, they can actually design their own animation. But their diploma, does that mean it's wrong? No, that is creation. You create. So theirs is actually a C5. It's not wrong. But before they reach C5, they need to do copying first. Copy. How do I draw a Wolverine? What's the basic? I remember I saw one of your classes. You draw the basic head, and then other divide into 2, 3. Then this is the body. Seriously, got science one, I was quite, I'm not an artist. To draw human, there is what do you call it? Apa tu?
It's a measurement.
Macam measurement now. But head, 2 parts to 3 parts to macam but they got for artists. Proportion. So they have been a very nice one. So when they teach the student, you practice that theory, you just follow to come up quite nice. Generally. But if you can't draw, you can't do a circle like me, then no difference. Okay, but that is how it is. So this is the basics. Okay. Teaching and learning assessment strategies. So when we now understand that these are the key aspects, we need to set PRO, CRO, LRO. One key aspect, if you remember, under OBE is curriculum, is teaching and learning activities, and the final one is assessment type. So we need to make sure it's jive. So this is a way of basically jiving it. Knowledge and understanding cognitive, kita buat lecture tutorial, kita buat written test or quiz. Not fixed in stone. Take for example, practical skill, practical test demonstration. Don't do practical skill, you want to test them, pakai written test. Tak boleh. Communication skill, presentation. Alright? If it is communication by traditional sense, communicating by writing letters, it can be written. But this is just to give the general, the more common methods. Okay, now this is just to open the eyes of our colleague. When you teach, I want to emphasize on this. Teaching is not only lecture, there can be case studies, project tutorials, practical demonstrations, discussions, work groups, so many methods. Teaching and learning strategies are a means in the end. The means, the cara kita buat. It can be a lecture, but in a different environment. The different environment will impact the teaching and learning strategies. Now we are in this room, we reach a stage of saturation. I've been here for 2 hours plus. I can see you're tired, normal human behavior. Now, if I say, hey guys, come, let's go out, let's go somewhere in a different environment. The different environment is a teaching learning strategy that can impact the cognitive nature of you wanting to learn. Yes, I still remember when BDP in hotel school was started. I was one of the blessed persons to be the first lecturer to start BDP in hotel. Because we learned from IMI, we brought it over, so we tried. So in learning, sometimes I brought my students out. Okay, guys, over in the old campus, there used to be UE, Chinese Kopitiam, small class. Come, guys, all of you follow me. Let's go have coffee over there. And over there, we discuss. Who's doing international tourism now? You. Are you doing international tourism?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you know that I brought students to Singapore to learn sex tourism? I brought a group, small group. Malaysia, I have ready now. So I brought them to Singapore. We stayed in Geylang with a local guide. There's a local guide. We must have a local guide. But the whole lecture, when we were walking around, I explained to the students on these concepts and the aspects. We learned in that environment different. So it was a different experience for them. They questioned, look at it, look at how it is. You have to accept the fact that in many countries, that is an industry. No point hiding. Malaysia pun ada. You try to hide lah. Kita memang tak ada semua bestnya. Tapi dia ada. Tourism people will tell you. Alright? So this is what learning is in a different environment. And when we go for trips at night, my classes are at night, every night for class, what reflection? So it can be 11 at night, 12 at night. The students come up baru mandi, towel on the head. Because baru mandi come, we take a room upstairs and then we discuss. And you can see the students so different. In class, no open mouth. When they go there, the environment makes them so proactive. This is it, teaching and learning strategies. Because what is the goal? The goal is students' understanding. We use different things, but the only blessing I have to do budget. Today, things are a little bit different, so I'm not saying you should do it or can do it. Dulu was a little bit different. Okay. So that is something that I was quite blessed. Okay. Actually, just to divest a bit, I brought students to Cambodia, Bali, Vietnam, cruise, and then Singapore, Indonesia sekali. Indonesia, yes. So actually, quite a lot. And of course, Switzerland, definitely. Yeah. I was the first guy to bring students to Switzerland for their visit. And we learn one thing from students do not understand this thing called time zone. We meet here what time? Okay, sir. Never change the time when we stop at Dubai. So I said, this joker. Because he didn't change his time. So after that we learn. In the plane, before we go out, because we book, we say, kita ambil langkah punya, guys, synchronize. Now all synchronize. Okay, understand that? So these are the strategies that you can look, and also the assessment strategies. And then, of course, when we discuss, we're talking about curriculum. OBE, one very important activity is the curriculum review. All right, when we review the curriculum, okay, you always look into this. When you do curriculum review curriculum, review name of program. Okay, let me just. So then we look into name, we look into duration, PEO, this one will drive, PLO, add or drop courses, CLO, review course content, teaching methods, and so on. Now, you see, when you review, When you review now, I also put this in. Dari mana? Official. MQA. This is what they tell us to do. We all takut, we all very worried to do review, but they are the one that tell us, you must do, you must do, you must do. And you just have to document. Less than 30% don't need to inform them. Okay? Syllabus, I mean the textbook change, don't need to inform them. Course content, the lesson change, don't need to inform. Slight change in the words CLO, don't need to inform. But if you change CLOs, you change name, you change credit, you need to inform them. Okay? Either that, small things you need to inform, and you should do. So, teaching methods, this one, in my scope, I always encourage teachers to look into this. Okay? Assessment, references, and so on. So this is the curriculum review. When we talk about curriculum, it is not only course, it is program. Curriculum covers the whole program. Then individual, we have individual courses. Okay? So you review the program as a big umbrella and how it impacts the course. And if it impacts, you can drop, you can, there you see, they even say add or drop courses. We all very scared to do this, but you must do add and drop courses. If not relevant, just one, do for the sake of doing.
Question for the 30%, does it count as a cumulative, let's say, this year I changed for one subject, next year I changed another one subject.
Okay, so is credit hour is counted a big change, you must inform the one. But if it's small change, yes, even normally it will just be notice because your program will be affected. You reduce your program will be affected. So you need to inform. There was a circular tahun lepas from the 30%. It was very clear cut, small thing no need, but you need to have your trace. You need to keep record. Whatever changes that you have done, you need to keep Excel sheet lah. After the last one, this and that, and so on. And it's fine. That's the key. Okay. So as you can see, this is a curriculum after review. Once it is done, it then has a good impact. Okay. Recap. See students baik semua. Now recap. So what do we do? Basically, what was important that in today's session, I hope you guys have followed. All right. Please take and then sell it to your colleagues. I'm a salesman, that's the only thing here. All right. One key aspect that's important is we, as the resource, the main resource of educating our students, need to understand what we can do and what we should do. OBE in general is a very good practice, outcomes-based education, because it is driven by what the students need at the end of their study to be relevant. And to be relevant, it is not only discipline, skill, and knowledge, it is a totality. Okay, and why am I saying it is good? Because in Malaysia, we are blessed with the MQF, which is a good document given by the government that states clearly there is this thing called the 5 clusters. And in the 5 clusters, there are 11 sub-clusters. So the students should meet that. And if the students meet that, they will be relevant graduates. That is the key thing that I want to throw in. Now, how this is applied will fall down very much on individual schools and individuals itself. You don't change anything and maintain status quo. The only person you are cheating is the student, because they will not be relevant. You can be proactive and do changes based on the needs of the student. It will impact you, means you will do more work. Definitely, there is going to be changes requires more work, but you look at the outcome at the end of the day. This practice, even though you don't practice it here, when you go to another institution, when you run your own school or whatever, I just want to instill that it is a very good practice done in a correct manner under the institutional guidelines and resources. Because if you look at Spadi's principles, yes, students can achieve in any day, any time, depending on the individual. However, we need to see also what resources that we have. Okay? We discussed why is it important, and of course, we need to have a take on how is it applied. Right, guys? So at the end of the day, I just want, as I said, as the first part, as an intro, all of you should have in your mind already what OBE is, video study, how is it done, and the importance of the process PEO. That is a critical thing. Now you all know, right? PEO is actually very important in guys. And from there, you will then be able to apply and start the fire in your respective schools. All right, guys, even those online, start the fire, start this practice of OBE in your schools. That is important. Now, where do we stand? Teaching and Learning Center. We are there to guide. And the heads know, the heads do know, and some do invite. If you have your program review, you need an external person, not to give you suggestion, but just to be your sounding board. Sounding board. Yeah, you check the PEOs. We are there to help on that. With that, terima kasih. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure speaking to all of you. Next week will be part 2. Next week we're going to look at assessment. We're going to look at the assessment part. All right, how do we set assessment? What is formative and summative and so on. All right, so my friends over in online. All right, any feedback? Come, maybe you want to see your friends over here. let me just skip this a little bit. See, this is our new board. This is our new board. Oh, do you want to keep a discard? I want to discard. Kasih discard sama dia. Too canggih. Okay. See, this is our friends. Hey, friends online, can you please switch on your videos a little bit so that our friends here can see? Come guys, online friends. Can you please switch on the video? Switch on video lah. You all malu ke? Jangan malu. Stephanie, Dr. Tan, Meilin, Asma. Ada. Yeah. Next time, UG staff, come. You all run physical already. Okay? Alright? Thank you. Have a good day. See you all. Bye-bye. Thanks. Thanks, guys. See you all. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.
You too. You know next week?
Yeah.
Still sharing.
Still sharing. I don't know the select. It's still sharing. Unshare dia first. Share it. Okay. Let's see whether they will hang. No good. Leave.